The handcuffs clicked shut around Dr. Elias Thorne's wrists in the marble lobby of the Meridian Grand, while hundreds of guests recorded every second. Security didn't know they had just handcuffed the man who owned all 47 hotels in the chain. What happened in the next 20 minutes would change the luxury hotel industry forever. Dr. Elias Thorne adjusted his Tom Ford cufflinks as he stepped out of the black Mercedes S-Class at the Meridian Grand's entrance. The valet barely glanced at him, before returning his attention to the white couple emerging from a Bentley behind him. "Excuse me, sir," Elias said quietly. The valet turned, annoyance flickering across his young face. "Self-parking is around the corner. This entrance is for hotel guests only." Elias didn't correct him. Not yet. He'd learned over 52 years that premature corrections rarely taught lasting lessons. Instead, he rolled his Toomey suitcase toward the gilded revolving doors, his Bruno Magli shoes silent on the red carpet. Inside, the Meridian Grand's lobby was exactly as he designed it 18 years ago. 30-foot ceilings, Venetian chandeliers, marble imported from Carrara, Italy. Every detail perfect, every surface gleaming. His life's work made manifest in stone and gold. At the front desk, a blonde woman in her late 20s looked up from her computer. Her name tag read, Madison Pierce, Front Desk Supervisor. Her smile faltered when she saw Elias approaching. "Can I help you?" Her tone suggested she very much hoped she couldn't. "Reservation for Thorne," he replied, sliding his passport and Amex Centurion card across the marble counter. Madison picked up the passport with obvious reluctance, comparing the photo to his face with theatrical suspicion. "This reservation is for the presidential suite. That's our most expensive accommodation at $12,000 per night." "I'm aware. And you're Dr. Thorne?" "I am." She typed something into her computer, her acrylic nails clicking against the keys with aggressive precision. "I'm going to need additional verification. The presidential suite requires special authorization for—" She paused, searching for diplomatic phrasing. "Walk-in guests." Elias remained perfectly still. His decades of hospitality experience recognized the microaggression immediately. White guests in expensive suits were never walk-in guests requiring special authorization. But what Madison didn't know, what none of them knew, was that every word of this conversation was being recorded by the hotel's new AI-powered guest service monitoring system, a system Elias himself had commissioned 3 months earlier to test exactly this kind of bias. "Sir, I'm going to need you to step aside while I verify this reservation." Madison gestured toward the lobby seating area where a family of 4 stared openly at the confrontation. "I'll wait here," Elias replied calmly. Behind him, he could hear whispered conversations, feel the weight of assumption and judgment. A distinguished white couple approached the desk. Madison's demeanor transformed instantly. Warm smile, welcoming tone. "Welcome to the Meridian Grand. How may I assist you today?" They hadn't made a reservation. Within 90 seconds, Madison had assigned them to a junior suite, upgraded them complimentary, and arranged champagne service, all without special authorization. Elias watched the interaction with the trained eye of someone who'd spent 30 years perfecting luxury hospitality. Madison was efficient, charming, professional. She was also demonstrating textbook racial profiling. When she finally returned to Elias, her expression had hardened further. "Sir, there seems to be some irregularity with your credit card. Our system is flagging it as potentially problematic. The Amex Centurion card, issued to fewer than 20,000 people worldwide, requiring $250,000 in annual spending, was flagged as problematic." "What specifically is the problem?" "The account name doesn't match our typical client profile for the presidential suite." Translation: "You don't look like someone who can afford $12,000 per night." A small crowd had gathered now. Hotel guests pretended to admire the artwork while actually recording the confrontation on their phones. Elias noticed a young black woman in business attire watching with the pained recognition of someone who'd experienced similar treatment. "Madison, I'd like to speak with your manager." Her eyes flashed with vindication. "Of course, though I should warn you, Mr. Henderson doesn't appreciate guests who try to cause problems." She picked up the phone, whispering urgently into the receiver. Elias used the pause to scan the lobby. Every detail was perfect, except for the systematic bias that had infected his staff without his knowledge. What Madison absolutely did not know was that Elias had personally interviewed and hired Mr. Henderson 8 months ago, that Henderson reported directly to Elias's chief operating officer that this entire interaction was about to become the most expensive training moment in luxury hotel history. But first, the situation would need to get much worse. Mr. Gregory Henderson emerged from the executive offices with the bearing of someone unaccustomed to being questioned. 53 years old, impeccably groomed, with the kind of confidence that comes from 2 decades in luxury hospitality management. "I understand we have a guest relations issue." His eyes landed on Elias with barely concealed disapproval. "Sir, the Meridian Grand maintains very high standards. If there's been some confusion about your reservation—" "No confusion," Elias interrupted quietly. "I have a confirmed reservation for the presidential suite. What I'm experiencing is something else entirely." Henderson's jaw tightened. "Madison, show me the reservation details." As Madison pulled up the information, Elias noticed the lobby had grown conspicuously quiet. Guests pretended to read their phones while actually recording. The concierge staff whispered urgently among themselves. "Dr. Thorne," Henderson read from the screen, his tone suggesting the title was likely fabricated. "Reservation made 3 weeks ago through our VIP booking line. Presidential suite, 7 nights, $84,000 total." He looked up. "The payment method is showing some irregularities." "What irregularities?" "The credit card on file. It's highly unusual for this type of transaction." Translation: "We don't believe a black man can afford this suite." Elias reached into his briefcase, the movement causing Madison to step back nervously, and withdrew a folder. "These are my banking statements from Chase Private Client, showing $4.7 million in available credit, my investment portfolio with Goldman Sachs showing $127 million in managed assets, and my tax returns for the past 3 years showing annual income exceeding $8 million. He laid each document on the counter with surgical precision. "Will this suffice for your verification process?" The lobby had gone completely silent. Even the fountain seemed to hold its breath. Henderson's face cycled through shock, embarrassment, and calculation. "Dr. Thorne, there's obviously been a terrible misunderstanding." He turned to Madison. "Please process this reservation immediately. And sir, please accept my sincere—" "Before you finish that sentence," Elias said quietly, "I need to inform you of something." He pulled out his phone and opened an app showing real-time surveillance feeds. 3 months ago, I commissioned a study of guest service bias across luxury hotels. This property was part of that study. Every interaction at this desk for the past 90 days has been recorded, transcribed, and analyzed by AI algorithms designed to detect racial profiling. Henderson's color drained completely. "Would you like to know what we discovered?" Before Henderson could respond, a commotion erupted near the elevators. A middle-aged white woman in designer clothes rushed toward the front desk, her face flushed with panic. "Someone has stolen my necklace from the presidential suite. I want security called immediately." Henderson's attention snapped to the woman. "Mrs. Vanderbilt, please calm down. When did you notice?" "Just now. I went to the spa for 1 hour, and when I returned, My $75,000 Cartier necklace was missing from the suite. The lobby erupted in whispers. Mrs. Vanderbilt was a known regular at the Meridian Grand, a socialite whose family had oil money stretching back 3 generations. Madison immediately looked at Elias. The implication was instantaneous and unmistakable. "Security!" Henderson shouted toward the back offices. "We need security in the lobby immediately." Elias remained perfectly still, his briefcase in one hand, his phone displaying the surveillance feeds in the other. He knew exactly what was about to happen. He'd seen this pattern play out in dozens of biased training scenarios. 2 security guards emerged, both white, both military-bearing, both radiating the kind of authority that brooked no argument. "We have a theft from the presidential suite," Henderson explained rapidly. "Mrs. Vanderbilt's necklace worth $75,000. We need to secure the lobby and check everyone who's been near the executive floors in the past 2 hours." The lead security guard, whose name tag read, "Robert Mitchell, Head of Security," surveyed the lobby. His eyes landed on Elias and stayed there. "Sir," Mitchell said, moving toward him, "I'm going to need you to remain exactly where you are." What Robert Mitchell didn't know, what absolutely no one in that lobby knew, was that Dr. Elias Thorne didn't just own the Meridian Grand. He owned the security company that had trained Mitchell. He owned the insurance company that covered the hotel's liability. He owned the property management firm that ran the daily operations. He owned everything. And everyone was about to find out. "Am I being detained?" Elias asked calmly. His lawyer instincts from his Cornell law degree immediately activated. "We're conducting an investigation into a serious theft," Mitchell replied, his hand moving to his radio. "I need you to empty your pockets and your briefcase." The request hung in the air like smoke. Around the lobby, phones rose higher. Recording angles adjusted. Someone whispered, "This is crazy," loud enough to be heard. "On what grounds?" "You've been loitering near the front desk for 20 minutes. You had a confrontation with staff. You're carrying an expensive briefcase and you were attempting to access the presidential suite, the same suite where the theft occurred." Every word was a landmine of racial profiling, loitering, confrontation, suspicious presence near the scene. Mrs. Vanderbilt pointed at Elias with a diamond-encrusted finger. "I saw him earlier near the elevators. I remember thinking he looked out of place." The crowd's murmur grew louder. Elias noticed the young black woman from earlier had her phone out, live streaming to what appeared to be thousands of viewers. Her caption read, "Racial profiling at luxury hotel. Live." "Sir, this is your final warning," Mitchell said, reaching for his handcuffs. "Empty your pockets and your briefcase, or I will detain you for obstruction." Elias looked directly at Henderson. "Mr. Henderson, before this situation escalates further, I strongly recommend you call your regional director." "I don't take orders from guests," Henderson snapped, his embarrassment from earlier transforming into defensive aggression. "Mitchell, detain him." The handcuffs came out. Elias didn't resist as Mitchell pulled his arms behind his back. The cold metal clicked shut around his wrists while hundreds of people recorded every second. The humiliation was complete. A successful black man in a $5,000 suit, handcuffed in a luxury hotel lobby, accused of theft based purely on the color of his skin. "Someone call the police," Madison shouted into her phone. "We have a suspect in custody for grand theft." What none of them realized was that Elias's phone, still in his jacket pocket, was streaming directly to 3 people: his chief legal officer, his VP of operations, and most critically, the CEO of the parent company that managed the Meridian Grand's franchise agreement. The countdown to revelation had begun, and it would be devastating. The police arrived minutes later. 2 officers, both responding to a potential grand theft situation. Officer Janet Rodriguez, a 15-year veteran, entered first, assessing the scene with experienced eyes. "Who called this in?" "Hotel security," Mitchell replied, still gripping Elias's arm. We have a suspect in custody, high-value theft from our presidential suite, $75,000 necklace. Rodriguez approached Elias, noting his expensive suit, his calm demeanor, his complete lack of resistance. Sir, what's your name? Dr. Elias Thorne. Do you have any identification? In my wallet, inside jacket pocket left side. Rodriguez carefully retrieved the wallet. Inside, driver's license, multiple credit cards, and a business card that made her pause. She studied it for a long moment before looking back at Elias. Sir, this business card says you're Officer Rodriguez, Henderson interrupted sharply. We need him searched immediately. He's been behaving suspiciously for the past 30 minutes. My staff has documented multiple irregularities in his behavior. Rodriguez held up a hand. Mr. Henderson, General Manager? Mr. Henderson nodded. I need you to step back and let me conduct my investigation. She turned to Elias. Dr. Thorne, do you consent to a search of your briefcase? I do not. The crowd gasped. Mitchell's grip tightened. It's probable cause right there. Rodriguez ignored him. Sir, can you tell me why you're at this hotel? I had a reservation for the presidential suite. These staff members refused to honor that reservation and accused me of fraud. Then, when a theft occurred elsewhere in the building, they immediately assumed I was responsible. All of this has been recorded by multiple witnesses. He gestured with his head toward the crowd of phones. Mrs. Vanderbilt pushed forward. Officer, I saw this man near the elevators. He was clearly casing the building. Ma'am, when did you see him? Well, I'm not sure exactly, but it was definitely suspicious. Rodriguez's skepticism was visible. She'd seen this pattern before. Assumptions based on appearance rather than evidence. Mitchell, she addressed the security guard. What actual evidence do you have connecting this man to the theft? Mitchell stammered. He was behaving suspiciously. He had a confrontation with staff. He was trying to access the same floor where... And that's not evidence, Rodriguez cut in. That's profiling. The words dropped like a bomb. Henderson's face went crimson. Madison looked like she might be sick. But the real explosion was about to happen because Elias's phone, still streaming, had just connected to a conference call with 7 people who were about to change everything. Elias's phone buzzed in his pocket. The ringtone, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, cut through the tension like a blade. May I answer that? Elias asked Rodriguez calmly. Who's calling? I believe it's my attorney. Rodriguez nodded. Go ahead, carefully. Mitchell retrieved the phone from Elias's jacket pocket, still streaming video to thousands of viewers. The caller ID showed Sarah Chen, Chief Legal Counsel. Rodriguez held the phone to Elias's ear since his hands were still cuffed. Dr. Thorne. Sarah Chen's voice boomed loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. I've been watching the live stream. We have 7 attorneys standing by. Do you want us to proceed with immediate legal action? Henderson's face went from crimson to ash gray. Not yet, Sarah, Elias replied calmly. But please conference in James Morrison. Understood. Connecting now. The phone clicked. A new voice joined, older, authoritative, deeply concerned. Elias, it's James. What the hell is happening at the Meridian Grand? Henderson's knees actually buckled. He gripped the front desk for support. James Morrison was the CEO of Luxury Destinations International, the parent company that franchised the Meridian Grand. He was also Elias's former business partner from 20 years ago. James, I'm currently handcuffed in the lobby of the Meridian Grand. I've been accused of theft, denied service based on racial profiling, and detained without probable cause. All of this has been recorded by approximately 200 witnesses. The silence on the other end was deafening. Put Henderson on the phone, now. Rodriguez held the phone to Henderson's ear. His hand shook so violently he couldn't have held it himself. Mr. Morrison, shut up and listen. Morrison's voice could have stripped paint. Do you have any idea who you just handcuffed? Sir, we were responding to a theft. The man you're detaining is Dr. Elias Thorne, founder and CEO of Thorne Global Hospitality. He doesn't just own the Meridian Grand, Henderson. He owns 47 luxury hotels across 12 countries. His company is worth $8.2 billion, and you just handcuffed him in his own goddamn lobby. The phone clattered to the floor. Henderson staggered backward. Madison made a sound like air escaping a balloon. Mitchell's hands fell away from Elias's arms as if burned. Officer Rodriguez looked at the business card again, then at Elias, then at the paralyzed hotel staff. Someone want to tell me why the hotel owner's in handcuffs? The crowd's reaction was instantaneous. Phones zoomed in. Social media notifications exploded. The hashtag Meridian Grand Racism began trending within 90 seconds. But Elias wasn't done. The handcuffs were still on. And what happened next would transform not just this hotel, but the entire luxury hospitality industry. Mitchell, Officer Rodriguez said quietly, remove those handcuffs immediately. The metallic click seemed to echo through the marble lobby as Elias's hands came free. He rubbed his wrists slowly, methodically, while every camera captured the moment. Dr. Thorne, Rodriguez said, I apologize on behalf of the police department. This detention was clearly... Officer Rodriguez, Elias interrupted gently. You responded appropriately to the call you received. This isn't about you. He turned to Henderson, who looked like he might actually faint. Mr. Henderson, how long have you worked here? 8 months, sir. Do you remember your interview? The 90-minute conversation we had about luxury hospitality principles, the discussion about unconscious bias and guest services? Henderson's mouth opened and closed silently. I hired you personally, Elias continued. I believed you understood the values I built this company on. Apparently, I was wrong. He turned to address the lobby, his voice carrying to every corner, every recording device, every witness. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Elias Thorne. 25 years ago, I founded Thorne Global Hospitality with one principle. Every guest deserves dignity regardless of their appearance, background, or race. Today, I discovered that principle has been abandoned in my own flagship property. The silence was absolute. In the past 30 minutes, I have been assumed to be lost by your valet, subjected to special authorization requirements never applied to white guests, accused of credit card fraud despite presenting a Centurion card, profiled as a theft suspect based solely on my presence, and handcuffed without probable cause, humiliated in front of 200 witnesses. He pulled out his phone and opened the surveillance monitoring app. What you don't know is that 3 months ago, I commissioned a comprehensive study of racial bias in luxury hotels. We installed AI-powered monitoring systems in 15 properties, including this one. Every guest interaction, every service decision, every assumption, recorded and analyzed. Henderson made a sound like a wounded animal. The data is devastating. Black guests at the Meridian Grand wait 40% longer for check-in. They're questioned about payment methods 300% more frequently. They're assigned less desirable rooms even when paying identical rates. And they're subjected to security scrutiny at rates 500% higher than white guests. Mrs. Vanderbilt had gone very quiet. This isn't about one employee's mistake. This is about systematic institutional racism that has infected my company while I wasn't paying close enough attention. He walked to where Madison stood, frozen. Miss Pierce, you treated me with suspicion and contempt. Then 90 seconds later, you treated a white couple without reservations with warmth and immediate service. Do you understand what that demonstrates? Madison's tears were streaming now, but Elias continued, Mr. Mitchell, you detained me based on suspicious behavior that was actually just a black man existing in a luxury space. You assumed guilt with zero evidence. Do you understand the danger of that assumption? Mitchell stared at the floor. Elias turned to Mrs. Vanderbilt. Madam, you saw a black man and immediately remembered him as out of place, despite having no interaction with him. Your unconscious bias potentially destroyed an innocent person's life. Do you understand that? Mrs. Vanderbilt clutched her pearls. The necklace that had disappeared was around her neck. She'd forgotten she was wearing it. The crowd's gasp was audible. But here's what's going to happen now, Elias said, his voice carrying absolute authority. This incident will become the catalyst for the most comprehensive anti-discrimination program in hospitality history. He pulled out his tablet and displayed a detailed document. The Thorne Protocol, launching in all 47 properties within 30 days. Mandatory bias training for every employee. Monthly real-time AI monitoring of guest service metrics by race. Anonymous reporting system with direct-to-CEO access. Automatic termination for discriminatory behavior. Third-party audits. Quarterly guest satisfaction tracking by demographic. Zero-tolerance policy with public accountability. He looked directly into the closest camera in the lobby. The Meridian Grand will lead that transformation, starting today. Mr. Henderson, Elias said, his tone shifting from anger to cold professionalism. You're suspended immediately. HR will contact you within 24 hours regarding your employment status. Mitchell, same. Madison, same. He turned to Officer Rodriguez. Officer, I'll need a complete incident report. I want every detail documented for our federal civil rights consultation. Rodriguez nodded. Of course, Dr. Thorne. Mrs. Vanderbilt. Elias addressed the socialite who was now examining her stolen necklace with horror. Your membership in our hotel rewards program is terminated. You're banned from all Thorne Global properties worldwide. What you did today, falsely accusing someone based on their race, could have destroyed a life. Mrs. Vanderbilt fled toward the exit without a word. Elias's phone buzzed with an incoming call. The screen showed Board of Directors, Emergency Session. Excuse me? He said to the lobby. I need to take this. He walked toward the executive offices, his executive offices, leaving behind a crowd of stunned witnesses. 2 hours later, the transformation began. Elias sat in the hotel's conference room with his executive team, all summoned immediately after the incident. His chief legal officer, VP of Operations, Director of HR, and Head of Diversity and Inclusion surrounded the table. Sarah, he addressed his legal chief, status update. The incident has 4.7 million views across social media platforms. Hashtag Meridian Grand Racism is trending #1 worldwide. We've received 1,200 press inquiries. CNN, MSN, BC, Fox News, BBC. Everyone wants interviews. VP Chang, operational status. All 47 properties are implementing emergency bias training. As of 6 p.m. tonight, we've suspended 14 employees pending investigation into similar complaints. Guest services protocols are being completely revised. HR Director Williams. Henderson, Mitchell, and Madison have been terminated for cause. We're reviewing 89 other discrimination complaints filed in the past 18 months that were previously dismissed. Every complainant will receive personal calls from you within 48 hours. Director Foster, Diversity Initiatives. The Thorne Protocol is being fast-tracked. I've contacted 12 major hotel chains. All want to adopt our framework. Cornell, NYU, and Georgetown hospitality programs want to make it required curriculum. The NAACP has requested a partnership. Elias nodded slowly, processing the magnitude of what they'd set in motion. This isn't revenge, he said quietly. This is revolution. For 25 years, I've built this company on the principle of dignified hospitality. Today I learned we failed that principle. Tomorrow we start fixing it. He opened his laptop and began typing an email that would go to every employee in the Thorne Global system, 8,900 people across 12 countries. Subject: we failed. Here's how we fix it. Today I was handcuffed in our own lobby, accused of theft, profiled as dangerous, humiliated publicly, all because I'm black. But I'm not the victim here. I'm one of the lucky ones. I had the resources to fight back. The thousands of black guests who've experienced similar treatment at our properties didn't have my power. That ends today. Effective immediately, every Thorne Global property will implement the most comprehensive anti-discrimination program in hospitality history. Training, monitoring, accountability, consequences. Some of you will lose your jobs. Some of you will be uncomfortable. Good. Comfort is what allowed this racism to flourish. We're not just changing policies, we're changing culture, and anyone who can't support that change needs to find employment elsewhere. This company was built on dignity. Today we reclaim that legacy. Dr. Elias Thorne, founder and CEO, Thorne Global Hospitality. He hit send. The revolution had begun. The conference room at Cornell University's School of Hotel Administration buzzed with anticipation. 200 hospitality students, industry leaders, and press members filled every seat to hear Dr. Elias Thorne's keynote address. 6 months ago, Elias began, his voice steady and strong. I was handcuffed in my own hotel. Today I'm here to tell you how that humiliation became the catalyst for industry transformation. The screen behind him lit up with data. The Thorne Protocol has now been implemented in all 47 Thorne Global properties, 23 competing hotel chains, 340 properties total, impacting 127,000 employees, serving 4.2 million guests monthly. The statistics continued scrolling. Results after 6 months. Discrimination complaints down 73%. Guest satisfaction scores among black travelers up 89%. Employee bias recognition up 340%. Industry-wide adoption. 12 major chains committed. A student raised her hand. Dr. Thorne, what happened to the employees who discriminated against you? Henderson, Mitchell, and Madison were terminated. But here's what's important. They became case studies. Their actions are now taught in every bias training session we conduct. Their mistakes became teaching moments for 127,000 people. Another hand. What about the financial impact? Elias smiled. Thorne Global revenue is up 14% since the protocol implementation. Turns out treating all guests with dignity is good business. Our market research shows 67% of black professionals now actively seek out Thorne Global properties because they trust our commitment to equality. A journalist from the Wall Street Journal stood. Critics say your protocol is too aggressive, too punitive. How do you respond? Racism is aggressive and punitive, Elias replied simply. Our response should match the severity of the problem. For decades, luxury hotels have protected racist employees because confronting bias was uncomfortable. I'm making it more uncomfortable to be racist than to change. The room erupted in applause. After his keynote, Elias checked his phone. A message from the young black woman who'd live-streamed his handcuffing. Her video had sparked the viral movement. Dr. Thorne, I just stayed at a Marriott using your protocol. The difference was night and day. Thank you for using your pain to create change. Jasmine, Washington. Elias smiled and typed back, Thank you for documenting the truth. Witnesses change history. He looked out the window at Cornell's campus, where 30 years ago he'd studied hospitality management, dreaming of creating luxury experiences for everyone. That young student hadn't imagined he'd need to be handcuffed in his own hotel to achieve that dream. But transformation, he'd learned, often required breaking before rebuilding. The Thorne Protocol wasn't just a corporate policy, it was a promise, a commitment, a revolution, and it had only just begun. Wow. Talk about karma hitting back instantly. Elias Thorne thought he was checking into his own hotel. Instead, he walked into a masterclass in systemic racism and turned it into the most powerful reform the luxury hospitality industry has ever seen. From handcuffs in the lobby to a global protocol for dignity, this is what happens when one person's pain becomes a catalyst for change. If you were moved by Elias's composure, his strategic brilliance, and the way he transformed humiliation into legacy, show your support for justice. Hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss another story of courage turning the tables on injustice. What would you have done in that lobby? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and remember, dignity isn't optional. It's non-negotiable.